Thank you for listening to Shulchanaruchharav.com.
Until what time may Kiddush Levana be recited? When is Sof Zman Kiddush Levana? So while the answer to this question may seem quite simple, just take out a calendar and look at what it says for the Sof Zman Kiddush Levana, there in truth exists various opinions and approaches to Sof Zman Kiddush Levana, and often even those calendars which write Sof Zman Kiddush Levana, which not all do, even those who do usually only take the first and most stringent approach. So we will today review the different opinions in the poskim regarding how to calculate Sof Zman Kiddush Levana. We will understand how the calculation is done practically, so any individual can figure out when is Sof Zman Kiddush Levana in his area on earth, and we will discuss which opinion one may rely upon. So as we know, there is a rabbinical command, instruction to bless Hashem for the new moon each and every month, a very precious mitzvah that's done with tremendous joy. And it is said, on the benefit that we receive from the light of the moon each month anew. The idea that one is benefiting from the moon is not just an additive to the mitzvah of Kiddush Levana, but is essential and central to the mitzvah. If the moon is covered by clouds, for example, and you can't get benefit from the light, you cannot say the blessing. It's forbidden. As the blessing is on the renewal of the shining of the light which you must experience in order to say. Being that that's the case, the poskim give various end times for Kiddush Levana, saying from this time and onwards, it is no longer considered the renewed light, and therefore the blessing is lost. When does this occur that we start saying it is no longer the renewed light? So we all know that a lunar month consists of exactly 29 days, 12 hours, and 793 chalakim, which equals approximately 43 minutes. Or to be exact, 44 minutes and 3.3 seconds. So the most basic way of telling have we lost the renewed light of the moon is by splitting that time of the cycle in half, and saying that within the first half of the orbit, it's still considered the renewed moon, and you can say the bracha. But once the orbit has passed its first half of orbit, is now traveling past full moon, it is now beginning to diminish, make its way to become dark again, and the blessing is now lost, as it is no longer part of the new moon cycle, but part of the concealing cycle, becoming the new moon for the next month. Practically, this exact approach is the approach of the Ramah in the Shulchanaruch in Aruch chapter 426 halacha 3, and so rules the Bach, the Shla, the Chaye Adam, the Kitzur Shulchanaruch, and other Achreinim. They hold that Kiddush Levana may only be said until 14 days, 18 hours, 396.5 chalakim, which equals 22 minutes into the Moilad. Not from Rosh Chodesh. We don't care when Rosh Chodesh was. We look astronomically at when did the moon begin its new moon cycle for this month. What was the Moilad they announced in Shul? And we calculate to that the above amount of time, 14 days, 18 hours, and 22 minutes. That is your end time for Kiddush Levana. You can't say past that time. That is the first approach. However, there is a second approach which is offered by the Mechaber, and so rule other poskim in the above mentioned chapter in Shulchan Aruch, that you're allowed to say Kiddush Levana up until 15 complete days past the Moilad. The Ramah said 14 days, 18 hours. The Mechaber says you have 15 whole days, meaning he adds another 5 hours and 38 minutes to the time of the Ramah. Then we have a third approach, which is offered by the Chassam Sofer in a tshuva in Chelek Orachayim Responsa 102, that you're allowed to say Kiddush Levana up until 15 days, 12 hours and 22 minutes from the Moilad, which is 18 hours past the time of the first opinion. Once again, the difference between all these approaches is that we all agree that once the new moon cycle of the orbit has ended and we start seeing the moon to diminish, that the bracha is lost. But when is the time of the new moon cycle ending its orbit? The Ramah held it's exactly at the half point. The Mechaber says no, you have a few more hours until it really takes effect. And the Chassam Sofer adds you have 18 hours past the time of the Ramah, 12 hours past the time of the Mechaber, as it takes 18 hours for the effects of the orbit of the moon to be noticed on Earth. So to us, to our perspective, the moon has not diminished yet, even though it's past its half of the orbit. and astronomically it has already began diminishing. We only notice that 18 hours later. Then we have a fourth approach, which is the approach written in the Sefer Knesset Hagdolah, name of Rabbeinu Peretz, and so rules Heishiv Moshe, Tshuva 14, Tzror Chesed, Shoelu Meshiv, and other Poskim, that we don't pay attention to the Moilad. You have until the 16th of the month, Tes Zayin B'Chodesh, every single month, including the night of the 16th. This opinion is the most simple, as there's absolutely nothing to calculate. You always look in your calendar, is it still before the night of Tes Zayin? If it is, say Kiddush Levana. If it's already the day of Tes Zayin, the night of Yud Zayin, then it's no good. We then have a fifth opinion, which suggests that you can say Kiddush Levana throughout the entire month. As who cares if the orbit of the moon is now reaching its cycle of new moon for the next month and is thus beginning to become dark and concealed and diminished? You are benefiting still from its light. It offers you light. Bless Hashem for that light you receive. So suggests the Chassam Sofer in the above given Tshuva, even though he doesn't conclude this way practically, the suggestion there is made. We then have a sixth and final approach to this dilemma, and this is an approach written in Chassidish Svarim. It's recorded by the Munkacher in Darkei Chaim V'Shalim, and in Divrei Torah, mentioned also in the Avnei Nezer Tshuva 383 of Orach Chaim, that whenever it's past the end time of Kiddush Levana, according to any of the above opinions, you are allowed to take out a Gemara in Sanhedrin or a Torah and read the nusach of the bracha from the Sefer, not from the Siddur. You're reading it as if you're learning, and you mention Hashem's name as if you're learning it. This approach, however, is not agreed to by all. There are many poskim who rule that when you read from a Gemara or a Torah, not in the way of a chiyuv of prayer or davening, you cannot mention Hashem's name, and therefore this method wouldn't work. But nonetheless, these are all the approaches and opinions, and let us now address, so how do we rule? So as the Kaf HaChaim concludes in 426.53, and so is the most logical approach, we rule Sofik Brachis Lahakil, and therefore every individual, including even Sfardim, as the Kaf HaChaim points out, is to abide by the first opinion and be very, very careful and vigilant to always recite Kiddush Levana before the end time of the Ramah, which is the first and earliest time arrives. 14 days, 18 hours, and 22 minutes past the Moilad. Nonetheless, b'diavad, if the time has already passed, then one is to contact a Rav as to whether he may rely on one of the other lenient approaches of the Mechaber or Chassam Sofer or the Heishiv Moshe. In part 2 of this lesson, we will discuss, number 1, is there a Chabad ruling and arbitration on this matter as to which approach one may follow? And number 2, most importantly, how on earth does one calculate the end times of Kiddush Levana if A, you don't have a calendar, or your calendar only shows the earliest time of the Ramah's ending, and you want to rely on saying it past that time in accordance to one of the other later approaches? How do you calculate the end time of Kiddush Levana according to any approach you desire? All this coming up in part 2.
Thank you for listening to Shulchanaruchharav.com. Our free services of making Torah knowledge available to the public depends on donors like you. Please help us continue our work through making even a small contribution at Shulchanaruchharav.com under the Daily Halacha Dedication section or in the subscription page. Also, check out our online courses and many Sefarim available for purchase that will both enhance your Torah knowledge and help support our work.